The Vanishing at Room 6. This is not a story. This is evidence. And evidence does not lie, it waits. What you are about to hear is a record. A man, a transaction, and a contradiction that never closed. The details will be examined until the silence itself confesses. Saturday, November 12, 1977. 8:47 p.m. Rain slicked the asphalt of Route 19 outside Amarillo, Texas. The Riverside Motel sat half-lit, its neon vacancy sign flickering against the storm. A man entered carrying a single suitcase. No introduction, no history, only the sound of water dripping from his coat onto cracked linoleum. At 8:52 p.m., the receptionist recorded him in the logbook. The entry is still visible. A name written with neat, deliberate strokes. Cash laid out in exact bills. Polite exchange. Quiet, soft-spoken, and gone within moments. He asked for a quiet room, and room 6 was given. Whether he chose it or whether it was simply the next available key remains unknown. At 8:55 p.m., the brass key touched his palm. By 8:57, he was seen walking down the hallway toward the middle of the row. That is the last confirmed observation of his existence. The following morning, Sunday, November 13, 1977, at 10:15 a.m., housekeeping knocked on the door of room 6. No response. They tried again at 11 a.m. Still nothing. At 12:05 p.m., the manager inserted the master key. The door opened to a room that contradicted itself. The bed was tightly made. Towels folded in untouched stacks. Television off. Blinds sealed. The carpet bore no tracks. No suitcase rested in the corner. No articles of clothing. No smell of use, no evidence of occupation. The room was not empty in the way departure leaves things behind. It was empty in the way a vacuum removes everything. The lock had been secured from the inside. There were no marks of tampering. The windows were bolted. The frame was intact. Entry and exit were impossible without leaving a trace. And yet the occupant was gone. Police arrived at 1:42 p.m. They questioned the receptionist, who confirmed the man's arrival. The guest book showed his signature, but when investigators attempted to trace the name, it dissolved. No address, no identification, no record of existence. The handwriting was precise, almost too deliberate, like a mark intended to stand alone without origin. Forensics began at 3:15 p.m. The results were abnormal. No fingerprints on the doorknob, no hair in the sink, no fibers on the bedding. The room was sterile to the point of improbability. Even professionally cleaned motel rooms contain microscopic residue. Here there was nothing. The absence itself became the only evidence. Witness testimony fractured under pressure. Some described him as tall, others average. Some said his hair was dark, others insisted light. One recalled a heavy coat, another a pale shirt. The more they remembered, the less consistent it became. This is the failure of human memory. It does not record, it reconstructs, and under interrogation it collapses. The man blurred into abstraction, less a guess than a shifting outline. No sighting after 9 p.m. could be confirmed. A clerk thought she heard footsteps near the vending machine close to midnight. A guest swore he saw someone matching the description pacing outside. But without corroboration, these details collapse into noise. Beyond 8:57 p.m., the man ceases to exist in the record. The contradiction sharpened. A man entered room 6. The door was locked from the inside. By morning, both man and belongings had been erased. There are parallels. In Japan, Johatsu, the evaporated people, who abandon identities overnight, apartments scrubbed of belongings, as if they had never been lived in. In Europe, locked room disappearances usually explained by overlooked crawl spaces or faulty reconstructions. In the United States, fabricated identities designed for single transactions before dissolving. Yet all of these leave residue. Debts, disturbances, bodies. Room 6 left nothing. That precision is the signature of design. If the man orchestrated his own disappearance, it was done with methodical preparation. Cash to avoid records, a false name, minimal belongings. But why sterilize the room beyond plausibility? Why erase even fingerprints that should have existed during the act of occupation? Human instinct leaves residue. To remove all trace requires process, not impulse. If the staff facilitated his disappearance, motive fails. Theft leaves conflict. Violence leaves evidence. What remained was sterilization, which suggests not opportunity but compliance. If the man never existed, then what entered the motel that night? A collective hallucination? A construct designed to be observed just long enough to create a signature in the logbook? The inconsistency of description and the impossibility of his absence make this scenario disturbing, but not dismissible. The most credible possibility remains systemic intervention. Institutions have both motive and resources to erase individuals completely. Sterile scenes, missing coverage, erased identities, these are not failures, they are functions. And the absence of reporting supports this. The local paper ran only a 3-line brief. Police investigate missing traveler. No foul play suspected. There was no follow-up, no national coverage. The case dissolved before it began. The motel continued operations. Room 6 was scrubbed, refurnished, occupied again. The ordinary resumed. But staff spoke of unease, of reluctance to enter alone. They described a weight in the room, not presence but subtraction, as though the vacancy itself lingered. The man is gone. The suitcase is gone. The record is erased. What remains is silence. And silence is never neutral. Silence benefits someone. When silence endures across decades, it is no longer absence. It is confession. The testimony has ended. The record is closed. A man entered on November 12, 1977, at 8:55 p.m. He was gone by the morning of November 13th. The evidence contradicts itself. The silence sustains itself. This is not an unsolved case. It is a confession. And silence, as always, is guilty.